Hey guys, we're back today and today is Friday night pajama party. I do these every Friday night. I just love hanging out with you guys. This is just consider this a girls' night in. It's a pajama party. I'm in my pajamas. Maybe you are too if you're in the US, but I know I have people joining in these pajama parties from all over the world. So welcome. These are just very interactive, girly times that we spend together. I'm just setting up my chat and everything. Hi, Passion with Design. I haven't seen you on for a while, so happy to have you joining in today. So today's topic is an interesting one, and it's a topic that I've thought about for a long time. It's one that I've admired from afar when I did not have this in my own life, and something that I've tried to really cultivate in my life because it's something that I admired, like I said. So it's that. So I want to touch on different things because permanence to me means stability, it means endurance, it means almost being comfortable in your skin and having confidence in yourself and having confidence in the decisions that you've made for yourself, or having some sort of a life plan and a goal. Hi guys that you guys are joining. I'm going to be interacting and taking lots of questions and stuff. So let me know your thoughts on this topic. Nazia, Noreen, Archana, so glad that you guys are here. Before I do this, I guess my disclaimer for this topic is that when I looked up the actual definition of the word permanence, I was a little worried about doing this video, even though in my head that definition does not hold. So I think that when people think of permanence, they think of something that never changes, that it always is. And yes, you know, on some level that is the definition, but I also am on here every single day telling you guys the importance of personal development, the importance of growth, the importance of changing and growing and evolving, right? That's important to me, to learn and grow and constantly be moving towards good change. But the permanence concept that I want to discuss with you guys, it's very different than that, because that always, I guess the word permanence to me means not being restless. So I see people all the time. I used to be this person, so I'm not picking on anybody. If this is you, I feel you. Where you get into something, you're doing something, but then there's always this kind of pull from other directions to be doing something else. There's this kind of second guessing yourself. There's always this restlessness. And I think that has been even taking on a completely different proportion now that we have social media and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all these wonderful outlets. But then, you know, I see people all the time, and I thought this was a younger generation, but I see this in the older generations as well, where you think that you always have to be doing something constantly new and drastically different to be enjoying yourself, to be moving forward. And as much as I like growth and personal development, I think that there is an elegance and a grace to also having some permanence in your life. It's the difference between growth when you look at personal development and that constant like restlessness and need for fast change, is that lacking of purpose, that intentionality. It's something that we talk about a lot here on the channel. So you know the type of people where they're always doing the next thing. It's always that new big business. It's always that get rich quick scheme. Another example of this I've seen in the mommy community, where if you have no, oopsie, can you guys see me? I see that it's kind of buffering on here. Thank you guys so much for the compliments. Let me know if you guys can hear me real quickly, because I'm getting a lot of buffering on my end. And if you can, I will continue going. It does show that I am, but somebody give me a thumbs up or let me know it's going. Is it still buffering? Let me ask. Okay, good. Okay, it's a little delayed, but okay. So in the mommy community, I've seen this thing where if you don't know what type of mom you have a plan of being, what type of a person you are, if you don't have that end picture goal, that blueprint for your life that I often talk about. I've seen this in mommy groups, right? Let's say that you are one type of mom and I'll give you examples from my own life, and you go somewhere and you see this other type of mom that's like rolling on the ground, getting dirty with her kids and playing with her kids, and you're thinking, oh, I love that, I want to do this, and you try to do that, but that's not you. And your children, the way that they behave and act when you try to play that role, gives it away that that's not you, because they're just like, who the hell are you and what did you do with my mom, with their body language and stuff. You know what I'm talking about? And then you find out, okay, I can't do that. Maybe you do it for a day and 2 days, and then you see some other type of mom and you're implementing that strategy. And there's this like sort of chaos in that structure where your kids don't know how to react, your kids don't know what to expect from you, you don't know what type of person or what type of mom you are, and then you end up getting really frustrated and overwhelmed because you're trying to do something that's very personal by somebody else's standard. And I've seen this in my own self. Like, I've even been criticized for this when if I'm going out with friends and you know, other mommies, and people will say, well, you know, you should let your kids do this. Or if I say, you know, I'm not comfortable, if I'm talking to my child saying, I'm not comfortable with you doing that, if I see that they're watching some other kid doing something in our rules that's not okay, I will have the other person interfere and say, oh, you know, you should live a little, let your kids do that. And if you don't have that sense of permanence, that sense of stability, that sense of this is me and these are my rules and this is my decision and this is how we're doing things, you can easily be offended, you can easily second guess yourself, you can easily be moved into thinking, am I wrong? Am I doing something wrong? But the sense of stability and permanence gives you that confidence to be able to be like, you know what, thank you so much for your input, you're probably right, but this is how I do this is within my comfort levels. And I have a client, her and I were discussing the same thing. Often she rotates her calls, different topics, but sometimes we'll do parenting calls, and she was saying the same thing, that she has a very similar parenting style to me, and she's worked on a lot of different things. Similar to me, I've worked a lot in my anxiety and not being overbearing with my children or having this fear that they will get hurt, and we've both come a long way in this. But sometimes people will make us feel bad for our decisions. And I can give you guys an example of this. I had a friend that actually taught her children how to swim by pushing them in the swimming pool. It worked out fantastic for her. All 3 of her kids are expert swimmers. It worked out. And she thought that hiring a private swimmer, you know, swim instructor and all of that was a complete waste of money and time, and I should just push my kids into the swimming pool and they would learn how to swim. I told her that would literally give me a heart attack. I have a very strong fear of water, and I've been trying to work at that and get better with that. Leaving my kids with a swim instructor was a big deal to me. Pushing my kids into the swimming pool, not happening. So I understand that that might be like some people's idea and it worked out great for them, but my client was asking me, what do I do in these situations? And I say, you say, thanks for your feedback. This is what works for me. So I'm kind of working, I had a structure here, but I've kind of like jumped around, but let me go back a little bit. So this restlessness that a lot of us seem to have, this inability to feel content, this inability to feel like, is this what I want? Is this enough? Should I be taking more vacations like so-and-so? Should I be taking on this other job? Should I be running a home business? This lack of what should I be doing? And I was having this discussion with Irfan, and he said something really interesting about this topic. He had never actually considered this as a topic, but when I said, he said, this is very interesting. It's an interesting topic. And he said it's like the status quo. He said, any deviation will be an improvement from the current. And I love that. I wrote it down because it's so interesting, because if you have no sense of gratitude, you have no sense of permanence, you have no sense of, this is not too bad, this is good, I'm happy where I am right now, I'm moving forward and I'm learning, but this is not bad, I'm not restless, I have peace in my life, then you are that type of person that's like always you need a new car, you need a new vacation, you need this, you need that, you maybe need a career change all the time. And it's that, you know how when we were talking about vacation versus like seeing the world, and I was saying that a vacation almost sounds like the way a lot of people talk about it, that you're running away from something. You're running away from your hectic life. You're running away from not having family time. You're running away from doing chores and whatnot. And seeing the world and traveling is a little bit different in the sense that you're not running away from something. You're going towards something, to see something, to experience something. So it's not that running away, it's that walking or working towards. And that's the difference to me between permanence and that restlessness, that indecisiveness. And I guess this is like a part 2 to my video that I did yesterday on taking back control, and also a part 2 to last week's Pajama Party when I talked about having a blueprint for your life. Hi Ding, good morning. She said good morning. It's evening here, but good morning. So give me some feedback. I have more things to say about this, but give me some feedback on what are your thoughts of permanence versus, you know, this constant change for need. I know so many people that are constantly like being pulled in different directions. I have friends that are like, every 2 months you see them, they're in a completely different career, completely different thing. And I'm not saying it's not good to explore and be spontaneous and be adventurous, but it's that lack of intentionality, it's that lack of plan, it's just that lacking of purpose, I think, where it's, you know, they started XYZ, it may have gone really well, but they ditched it because somebody else mentioned, you know, ABC would be better, and they ditched that and jumped onto that. And then as they were doing that, they ditched it and moved on to something else. So that sort of instability, that sort of not being able to stand your ground and see things through. Let's see. This other thing that I think a sense of permanence that I first noticed was way back when I was younger, and I would notice that when certain people got negative feedback, family members, friends, anything like that, they would react in a certain way. Like, let's say they're doing something, a hobby, work, and somebody said to them, oh, why are you doing that? Like, I would never do this. I would notice that some people were likely, you know, more likely to just jump ship and ditch that because somebody had made a negative comment. And then there was these other type of people that no matter what you said to them, you could completely try to derail them off their plan. They continued doing it. And I always secretly admired those people. Even if I was the person that thought what they were doing was nuts, I always admired the fact that they had this assurance. They had this just discipline. They could look you in the eyes, listen to your negative feedback, listen to you know, all of the things you had to say about their idea, and continue on doing what they believed in. And that to me is the true definition of permanence and of substance that I'm thinking of, and not necessarily maybe the Google definition. But what are you guys saying about this? Passion with Design said, Mina, I want to thank you first of all. Thanks to your positive motivational videos, I have achieved great success in interiors. Before I was jumping around, do what I want to do interior. Do I even want to do interiors? I even took up a course for dyslexia mentoring on Udemy. And once I decided what I really wanted to do and had no fear of failure, did I achieve what I always wanted? It took time, and sometimes success comes when you least expect it. That is wonderful testimony. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words. And I think that's what I'm always talking about when I say you have to work backwards. And I want to bring in relationships into this too, but because I see this lacking a lot in marriage and relationships, because relationships are wonderful when you first start, right? They're romantic, everybody's on their best behavior, and I think there was this really famous scientist on a podcast. I can't recall his name, but I'll try to see if I can remember the book's name later and post it. I'm going to pick up the book for sure. He was saying this thing about how in the beginning of a relationship, you're not really dating the person, you're just dating in imagination. You're dating your imagination of how they are and not how they really are. And after marriage, then you realize that the person that you have married in their actual state, and it might not be a bad thing, they might be a great person, but it takes a little bit of adjustment to realize, uh-oh, you know, this imaginary person that I had created in my, we think that they have changed, but they really, that's who they were the whole time. You just had a very romanticized, glamorized version of them. And I think that happens a lot. I think we all do this. I certainly have, where in the beginning, you know, everything's going great and it's just amazing. And then at the first sign of something going wrong, you just fill your head with all these negative energy, all this negative talk. I certainly did this, guilty of it. And there's no sense of permanence. There's no sense of, yeah, this is marriage. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. And as long as the other person is not breaking your non-negotiables, which everybody may have their own, whatever it is, it's going to require work and it's going to require some endurance. And I think that thing is lacking so much, because it's either like it has to be this glamorized, you know, Kim Kardashian, Kanye West type of relationship where it's like all amazing all the time, or it's nothing, like it's doomed. And there seems to be no like in between. I always find it fascinating when, oh, it's buffering again, I apologize. Let me know if it's when it returns. I always find it fascinating when there's a couple, and an older couple, and they've been married for 45, 50 years, and people will ask them, you know, what's the secret to marriage? And they will often make some sort of a joke, and, you know, it's usually a funny thing that they'll say, but to me, I think it probably is just permanence. It's that feeling of, you know what, it's not always going to be perfect, it's going to require work, sometimes it's going to be, you know, a roller coaster. But I think what we lack and what they have is the sense of permanence. It's the sense of, like, it is what it is and we're dealing with it. Nazia said, I get a lot of criticism for being me and also taking decisions on how to earn money. There's this situation that I am more than eligible for the job I'm doing right now, and they think I lied. I'm sorry to hear that, Nadia. Sometimes it's how you are delivering the message too. So at the end of the day, we're not always going to be pleasing everybody. I actually have that situation in my life many times where people will misunderstand me, or they have made up their mind already that they, no matter what I say, they're not going to like me. And I have just learned to realize that those people are not worth wasting my time. Like, I don't have the energy to convince them. And some of those people may be family members, but I've just, and you know, you guys have seen me talk about this all the time. All I can do is bring my best self forward, be polite, be nice, and then just leave it up, you know? What can I do beyond that? If I had to convince every person to love me and like me, like, it would be exhausting. That, I mean, it's just not worth my time. So at some point, you can just be the honest person that you are and do your best. And some people will see it and others will never see it. And that's okay. That's just kind of part of life, right? Passion with Design said, please give advice on how to get the kids to stay focused and complete the tasks they have taken up during the summer. Like, we jump from geography to math to history. There's no real schedule. You answered the question yourself. There's no real schedule. So you can't blame them for jumping around if you haven't set the schedule. So you need to have a schedule saying, maybe you're doing a little bit of math and reading on Monday, maybe science on Tuesday, maybe leave Wednesday open so that there is this sense of, oh, okay, today's a free day. Like, we get to decide what's on our mind and what we would like to do, and then have some sort of a structure. So you said, I let the kids decide what they want to do and for how long, but at times they don't complete the task and even I forget. Yeah, you have to give the perception of control without giving them complete control, because they are not capable of that. So I let my kids think that they are in control most of the time, but there is a structure. So you know, like I mentioned, like maybe Tuesday could be a free day and you say, you know, what's on your mind today, or you maybe pick out of a hat or something. But there needs to be a structure, maybe even a rotating structure, kind of like the Fly Lady. If you're familiar with her cleaning schedule, maybe play that into make a fun routine out of it for you. But there has to be some sort of a structure where they think they have control. There's some freedom, but it's not chaotic, right? It can't be complete chaos either. Hi Ross, welcome. So let's get back into yeah, so let me give you another example that kind of comes to my mind when I think of the concept of permanence. Also, guys, if you guys don't mind, let me text downstairs and make sure nobody else is on the internet, because I think it is sorry guys. I think what happened is usually I warn my family, ask them to get off the computer or like other devices. Maybe there's too many devices in use. So yes, you gotta have some kind of a sneaky order in there, babe. Okay, so one thing, for example, when I was doing real estate, single mom, all that, you know, in that mode, I was working really hard. And when the whole thing with, you know, Irfan happened, and I was kind of indecisive in that moment, because you guys know my story. I don't want to have to keep repeating it every time, but my mom was really ill, and I had made this decision that I was going to remarry, and I was kind of indecisive about it. I wasn't 100% sure, and I had a few friends that I, you know, talked to, and they tried to talk me out of it. They said, you know, you've worked really hard, you've been burnt before, you finally come at a place where you have your own place, you're doing great in your business, like you don't need a man, you're doing really fantastic, why would you you know, give up all of this and go back into a risky situation? They had a point, and you know, they had all these strong, valid points, and I was really having trouble making this decision. I made the decision, I got remarried, and a few months later, I realized that they were also looking to do the same thing. I guess they were always doing that, but I had never noticed it. So a few of them got married. A few of my friends that were really against marriage and really talking me out of it got married, and they gave up their careers and everything as quickly as they could to settle into their married life. And that's okay. I mean, that's absolutely okay. I'm so happy for them. But it really gave me this I guess it was an important lesson for me, because I have experienced this many times in my life where people will give me very negative feedback of something I'm doing, and then go ahead and do that the first chance that they get. And then there's the people where no matter how much negative feedback they get, they cannot be deterred from their plan. So that's where I mean, in that the people that will give you a lot of negative feedback on something and then turn around and quickly do that exact thing the first chance they got, to me, those people, as wonderful as they are, they lack this stability and that permanence. And it's, you know, maybe they truly changed their mind, but it's that delivery of the message, right? So if I went to them and they said, yo, yeah, that's a tough decision, there's cons and pros, and they had baited out like both of the sides, I guess that would be more of a balanced approach. And then if they went and got married later, it makes sense because they were undecided to me. So I hope this is making sense, that real like when you have set your way, you have made your decision, when you're set in your ways, like you have a blueprint for life. The place that I am right now in my life, when somebody comes to me and says, you should do this with your parenting, or oh, don't do that, or why aren't you doing this, or there's a wonderful world out there, why aren't you doing this? I know that that's not going to deter my plans. And the funny thing is that I've noticed that it shocks people sometimes, because I think we're so not used to that. So in my life, I've had people give me negative feedback about something, run into me later, see me doing that exact same thing, and they're surprised that I did not change from their feedback. Does that make sense? Especially if they're like in a position of authority over you, and it almost intimidates them because they are not used to that kind of self-assurance, that sort of, I have a direction and I'm not really, you know, thanks for your feedback, but I wasn't asking for it, so this is the path that I'm taking and I'm not going to derail. And that's the kind of confidence and self-assurance and permanence that I want to achieve in my life. And I also want to encourage you guys to seek out, because you know, I think a lot of people think that permanence is boring, but the people that are restless often say that and make us believe that, but they're always restless. And the first chance they get at having what we have, which is permanence, they take it, they run with it. So they haven't arrived where you are yet, if that makes sense. So I think it's something of value, because when you have permanence in your life, you can better enjoy spontaneous moments and traveling and all of that, because you always have a foundation and something to come back to. Whereas if you are always just bouncing around from idea to idea, from job to job, from relationship to relationship, from parenting style to parenting style, you don't have you. You don't have a defining thing that's like, oh my God, that's so her. That's her style, that's her parenting, that's her career. You know what I mean? Like, let me hear some of your feedback. Let's see. Passion with Design said a discussion point, getting too used to permanence and being in your happy place in life and being afraid of sudden change, not in your control. Ooh, I love that. I love that. And that's a great one. So let's explore that a little bit. So that was one that that I had considered when I was actually writing this out. But I thought that we would go into too many different directions, but I love this. So I have thought about this. So let's say that you have a life plan, you have a blueprint, and you are like on your way to it, and you have your mission statement and everything's going great, and something happens that's beyond your control, that, you know, let's say for some reason the relationship just doesn't work out, you get fired, or you have to quit that job. What do? There's a certain change. So to me, the answer has been that I'm able to deal with those sudden type of changes because my life path and my end goal and my legacy, it has me at the core of it. It has my self-care and my I become as the core. So if my end goal, for example, is that I leave a happy legacy for my children, and that the world sees me as having been a positive person, and that I inspired, you know, the people that I came in contact with to leave the world a better place than they found it, simple things like that, okay? At the end of my life, okay, if I'm 95 years old, will it matter to me whether I was married throughout my life to person A or person B, whether I was a engineer or a janitor, whether I lived in Florida or California? If I close my eyes and imagine myself at 95, all I know is that if I have lived to my true values and my goals have been met, I haven't been a caring, kind person, of having lived a full, rich life, I don't think it makes that big of a difference whether I was married to person A or B, a janitor or an engineer, because those values have nothing to do with those things. And maybe those people that I have been married to, or that I came in contact with, or the job security that I had, maybe it would have helped me along or worked against me, but it also, I would have built the resistance and the abilities according to that, right? So we talk about often the gratitude being the equalizer, right? So let me ask you this, like if there's a king and he has everything, all the food, all the money, all the riches in the world, but he's very unhappy, he lacks gratitude, he's just miserable. And then there's the homeless man that is so grateful when he gets his next meal, and he's just happy and smiling and saying hello to everybody, and he has wonderful relationships with the people he hangs out with. Who is richer? Who's happier? So as long as your guiding principles and the things that you have set for yourself, they should, if they're reliant on worldly things that can completely derail your course, because you're dependent on whether my sister says this and this man stays with me or not, or if I get that job in Florida, you know what I mean? Like, I hope that's like kind of explaining it. So that's how I deal with, and I have dealt with change in my life, because I'm still the same person. I'm stronger, I'm growing, I'm learning new things every day. I'd like to take pride in the fact that I know a little bit more today since yesterday, because since yesterday I listened to 3 podcasts, read a book, talked to you guys, meditated, worked out, you know what I mean? So I've grown in that way, but I still am who I am because my end legacy, my goal, my mission statement hasn't changed. And that's the path that I'm on, regardless of any sudden external circumstances, if that makes sense. But that's such a great topic. I love that. Let's see. Nazia said, all of my degrees are from my country, so I need credits to work the position I'm eligible, but I don't want the student loans, and people don't understand and think that I'm lazy. For me, my job is the definition of permanence right now. Yeah, so okay, that's good, but I think it's a good starting point, but I would not let my job define me, because let me tell you something. Like when I was doing real estate, same example, right? I was good at it. I enjoyed it. It was really good money. It got me through. It kept me busy, right? But when it really came down to making the decision for myself and my child, whether I was going to get married and, you know, give up the career and stuff, I did it in a heartbeat. It did not matter to me, because the job was just, it's just like one really small facet to a very like a complete, like, think of it as this like big pie, right? Your job cannot be your only defining factor in life. It can't be something that you derive all of your happiness from. It's certainly important, of course it's important. I love what I do too, but if you put all of your eggs in one basket, or all of the weight of your happiness on one factor, it's very easy to collapse, and it's risky business to me. So, and the truth is that the human psyche doesn't work that way. You need a variety of things in balance to be happy. You need a balance of relationships, and there's so many things, right? You can't put all of your eggs in one basket. That can be your focus for this year, but I would not make it like your idea of that permanence, right? Holding a job is certainly a part of it. I think that's great, being able to hold a job for a number of years, or however much time you need to. But I think that the idea, the way I'm looking at permanence, of that assurance that I am me because of me, and not being so decided by other factors, I guess, outside factors. Naz said, yes, people criticize that I'm stagnant when I'm doing what I love. And that's all that matters. Love, like, I read something the other day. What was it? Let your results speak louder than your words. And I love that, because especially in the food and fitness world and the nutrition world, there's so many mouths running. There's so much information. It's so overwhelming. But really, at the end of the day, you know, there might be really smart, amazing people out there giving great information, but I look at results. So, I mean, maybe this is a negative thing for me to admit, but somebody who's fit and healthy and looks happy and radiant, I'm more likely to listen to that person, whether I like it or not, because we are just trained, and biologically just trained to look for those cues, right? Does this person know what they're talking about? If they knew what they're talking about, their actions and their results would speak it. So same thing, like, I don't waste a lot of time trying to convince other people that I have the right lifestyle. And like now, like the example that I gave, a lot of the girlfriends that I've had, or acquaintances that would say, you know, I can't believe you can do this. Like, how could you just stay at home all day? You know, there's this exciting world out there. You're missing out. I would just nod and smile, because many times they don't know who I am or where I've been a lot of times, or maybe they do, right? But they're missing one important point. I had that before. I came through that. I know that that exciting world out there can sometimes be lonely and cruel and hard work, and it's a small, very small sacrifice, if that's what they want to call it, to have stability in my life right now for myself and my children, and being able to live my passion, even if that looks boring to them. To them, being at home and being on YouTube and just taking care of my kids and homeschooling in the summer and all of that, like, they think it sucks. I love it. But I don't need to go explaining that to them, because most likely, this is what I've seen in my life, the first chance they get at having what I have, they take it. So sometimes they probably don't. Maybe I just zone in and notice the times that they do. But like the girlfriends that kept saying that, why are you getting married? Like, that's awful. Like, you're going to be burned again, got married. The girlfriends that were like, don't give up your career. Stay-at-home mom is risky business. You'll never be able to find work later. Gave up their jobs and became a stay-at-home mom the first time they could, the first chance they could. So to me, permanence is having an end goal, knowing where you're going, where you're headed, and being able to live through that, regardless of all of the outside feedback, regardless of the lemons that the world throws at you, regardless of all of that, and sticking to your path. What I'm doing right now, it may seem risky to some people, what I've done, given up my career and all of that. But look what came out of it, right? I mean, it gave me the chance to correct an autoimmune disease I didn't even know I had at the time. It gave me a chance to read I've read so many books in the last 8 years. I think most people can't even read that in a lifetime because they don't have the time. I certainly couldn't before. I've always loved to read. I loved to read as a child. But during those years that I was working so much, I could squeeze it in here and there. I would skim read many times. But I used my time carefully, and what I've done is I've set myself up so that if I never chose to walk out the house and work again, I could work with an internet connection from anywhere in the world. So I think what happens is a lot of times if you don't have that sense of permanence, you end up making decisions out of fear. And one decision out of fear could be not to allow yourself to get comfortable. And I know a lot of people say that. I actually heard this just recently, that if you're comfortable, you're not moving in the right direction. And on some level, okay, I get that. Like, I get that need to constantly change and grow. I have that too, to read and learn and biohack myself and do all those wonderful things. But I don't want to be running a race where there's no there's no end destination. You're just randomly running because you're so afraid of just stopping for a moment and being, you know what? This is a nice place for me to park myself for a minute and just feel the gratitude and just feel the wind on my skin and enjoy my coffee and chat with you guys. It's an okay place. It's okay to park yourself sometimes and soak it in, right? Because everything we have now was something we were running to before. We have it now. So when do you stop and say, you know what, I'm just gonna park myself here and have a moment? Let me see what you guys say. Passion with Design said, while trying to keep a schedule, it often becomes monotonous, and I feel I'm boring. Sometimes you need to be spontaneous too. No, I touched on that. You should always be spontaneous, but in a permanent sort of way. So there's a difference between restless and spontaneous. And I think a lot of time people who are restless, they have like this constant like jitteriness in their life where they're very indecisive and they're just doing what everybody else is doing. They can't figure out what they need. Everything that they're doing is the best thing until 2 weeks later when they're doing something else. That is not being spontaneous. That's having no plan, right? So in my life, I have spontaneous built into the plan. So spontaneous permanence is security. It's being stable enough to go and plan a random trip tomorrow. I can do that because I have taken the time to build permanence into my life, stability, endurance, if that makes sense. So I think there's a difference between being spontaneous and being restless and not knowing where you're going, if that makes sense. Femina said hi, listening and multitasking, couldn't miss the pajama party. I'm so happy that you're here. I know I changed the time on you guys a little bit. Nazia said, so proud of you, and you inspire me a lot. Whenever I get those negative comments, I think of you and watch your videos and get back on track. That's the way to do it. And let me tell you guys, I still get those comments every single day. Every single day. And most of them I just brush off. And the ones that bother me and sting me, I sit with them, because it's not even about the comment at that point. It's the thing that, why did this bother me? I have to work on this. And I put a pin in it and say, okay, that was weird. That invoked something in me. It shouldn't have, because those were just words from a random person. It wasn't, or even if it's somebody important to me, they were just their opinions. But I like to explore that for myself without lashing at them, doing anything at them. I may make a joke, I may not. I just choose in that moment. But strangely enough, and I know I've said this a lot tonight, but most of the time in my life, the things that I get criticized for, typically other people want to do, and I will see them doing that same thing. And I think a lot of time it's that miscommunication. So let me give you guys an example. If I like something that somebody has, I will go and compliment them. I've mentioned this many times to you guys. So I will say, oh my god, I love those shoes. And I had a friend, actually, I have a friend, a few years ago, she came to my house and she had these gorgeous sandals on. They just looked fabulous on her. I told her, oh my god, I love those sandals. And she said, thank you. The next time I saw her, she had the sandals on again. And I was like, oh my god, I just love those sandals. And she said, oh, I got them from TJ Maxx. And I was like, do you mind if I get them? I just adore them. And she was like, let's go together. Yeah, let's go buy them. So I went and I was able to find them and I bought them. And she did not seem to mind at all. She was totally happy that I got the sandals. So years later, I was telling her the story of how something had bothered me, and I was discussing it with her because it shouldn't have bothered me, but I was pondering this, why did it? So you guys know that whatever I wear, my makeup, my jewelry, my clothes, I always share it with you guys. I actually love sharing what I'm wearing. I've actually had friends in real life say that they can't believe that I share my foundation and personal things about my perfume and whatever, because they feel like other girls don't share that information. They will give them the wrong information or not answer. I said, I don't have problems with sharing. I love doing that. So I had a problem with somebody wearing my exact outfit that I had bought after seeing it on me. And it bothered me that it bothered me. Does that make sense? Because I'm like, I do this for a living. Like, I tell people all the time to go and buy this top from wherever I bought it from. And when we discussed it, I realized what the difference was. And my friend was able to point it out to me. I'm so glad that I bounced it off of her. Because when I told her the story, it's because before this person went out and bought my outfit, they told me it was ugly and said that I looked really bad in it, and then went and bought the exact same outfit, wore it with the same hairstyle that I wore it at, with the exact same makeup that I had it with, and with the same perfume that I wear. And so it's not that I don't mind sharing. I love it when you guys go and say, oh, you bought the same lip gloss that I have. I absolutely love that. That's why I share it. The difference was, and she reminded me of how I had complimented her sandals, and that I had, told her I was going to go buy them. And not that anybody needs to even get my permission, but it's that difference of saying, ew, that's ugly. I hate it. You look bad in it. And then going and doing it. So in my life, I have realized that a lot of times when people give you negative comments, they may not realize it, but they're sorting that thing out in their mind instead of using you as inspiration and thinking. So my general go-to thing is, if I see something on somebody, I will compliment them if I like it. And if I want to go buy it, I will go buy it, but I don't have negative feelings towards it because I told them that I loved it, right? I didn't tell them it was ugly or something like that. If I see somebody being more successful than I am in something that I want, I say, they have a better vision board than I do. That's my first thought, honest to God. I'm like, they have a better plan. And I will, sometimes it's things that I know that I want, but I go and say, okay, I need to make it clear on my vision board because obviously I did not get there yet. If it's something that I had not thought about, then my first thought is, I need to get this on my vision board. I did not realize that I even like this thing until I saw that person doing it. That's my difference. But I think that some people think that they have to shout, like they have to shut it down. They have to say something negative about it. Like they have to tell you that it's bad so that maybe you don't have it. I don't know if they process that information even, but then they go and do it, and it's this. I think the reason I don't call those people out is because they're probably having more cognitive dissonance than I am. Because think about it. Think about how much effort that would take, mental energy even, to say something's ugly and then go and wear it. That would like screw me up in my mind. So I just leave that as it is and just let it be. Passion with design. Well, Zara, I missed your comment. Sorry. She said, hi, Mina. It's been forever since I caught these live chats. Loving this topic. So glad to join in. Welcome, Zara. I've missed you. So glad that you're here. So let's see. Afreen said, as much as I love being a stay-at-home mom, I have my days when I have my doubts and things go down way spiral for the next few days. Was just wondering, am I the only one who has doubts? Because clearly you love doing what you're doing. So Afreen, I was that person. I was you. And here's the difference. I'm still the same person. So I think we all have that doubts. There's a slight difference. So I tried to sit with that feeling of what made me nervous about being a stay-at-home mom. And the main thing that I came up with, and I came up with it with you guys. I did a video 4 or 5 years ago about this topic. And in that discussion, it came forward that I think the biggest thing was the negative feedback that we received from other people, whether they verbally say it or not. I still struggle with this, where my family and friends treat me like I'm always available and that my time is not important, even though I'm running a business now. And this is my own fault. Many times for my family and friends, if they call and say they want to do something, I will like change my schedule to accommodate them, thinking, well, they have an outside job, so it's easier for me to change it. I can always live stream later. I can always edit later. Let me just go with their schedule. And I've done it enough where if I like can't do it, or if I am, let's say that I'm out with them and they're on their phone the whole time, but if I happen to reply to a client's text or something, they will be upset with me, saying that, why are you busy? Like, this is supposed to be our time. And like, well, you were just on the phone for like an hour. I didn't say anything. But I realized that that was my own fault because I trained that behavior. That was reason number one. The reason number two was I felt like I was wasting my time. Like, not, I love raising my family, of course, but wasting my career and my degree. And then I realized that I wasn't using my time wisely, because instead of looking at it as I'm wasting time, I look at it as this is a season of my life where I am doing the most important job in my life, which is rearing my children, growing my children, teaching them all these wonderful things. But I'm also using this time really wisely. I'm reading so many books. I'm focusing on my self-care. I exercise, I eat right, I work on my positive energy. I'm trying to be a good member of my community. I talk to my neighbors. I spend time with you guys. I life coach. I call relatives and make sure they're doing okay. That makes me feel like even though I'm in this season of life that typically is supposed to be a difficult season because you have to put a lot of things on hold to take care of young children, but I'm making the most possible best usage of my time. So I don't feel bad, because you know what? So many people that told me you're wasting your communication degree. Am I? I've got over 1,000 videos on YouTube. Thousands of you guys tell me every single day that I've inspired you in some way. I'm using my degree for my life coaching business. I've written a couple of books. I'm loving every minute of it. If this is called wasting my degree, oh my God, like this is the most fun I've ever had. So it's on you. Like, if you are the type of person that's sitting around feeling bad, and I think generally when I felt like I wasn't doing much for myself, that's when those negative energy and that negative feelings come. Now that I know that I've been able to take a time where a lot of people struggle with, they're thinking it's like this negative time where they have to put their life on hold, they've got all this going on, they don't have time for themselves, and I've made every possible use of my time. And I know that I'm of value to my children, but I've been able to have value for myself and to other people. So it's that finding that balance. So find something that you do every single day that's for you. Every single day, are you making good uses of your time? Be honest with yourself. You don't have to answer that for me, but are you feeling like you're being a good steward of your time, if that makes sense? So is it running? The Secret Life of Moms. Hi, I'm excited that you're here. Nazia, can you see me? I'm not sure. Nazia said how to deal with someone who says, oh, you are free all the time. Why do you say that you're busy or have things to do? So when people say things, I just joke around or don't respond and like spend less time with them, but it's more like taking advantage of you in the sense that expecting you to always be there, or expecting you to maybe do things for them all the time, or being disrespectful of your time, like making plans and then canceling all the time, things like that. I think that's more when people say something that's in one ear and out the other ear. If it bothers you, then sit with that. Say, why did this comment bother me? Does that mean that I don't personally value my time? So that's my answer to that. Passion with Design said, I have so much knowledge, often more than people in my family who get their info from other relative rumors and WhatsApp messages. When I try to tell them something valid, they treat me like I'm wrong. So then that's the difference, Passion, is that you have to find your like-minded people that you can have those stimulating conversations with. You have to and sometimes they're not going to be your family members and your friends. And those people you hang out with when you need to hang out with, and under different circumstances, you get something out of that differently. But create something else, because I've learned that around certain family members, will not even mention my diet. I will not, even if it accidentally comes out of my mouth, they can get offended. And it's not that I'm asking them to do anything. If I accidentally say something to my husband even, that, oh, I can't eat that, it's gluten, they might get offended on that. So, but you know, I can't control other people's feelings. Either I can just walk on eggshells all the time, where there are certain family members that I still have to do that a lot. But my solution to that has been creating this community with you guys so that I can have an outlet to have those intellectual discussions where you guys are coming to me, so I don't feel like I'm enforcing anything on you guys, and I can be myself and be my real me without having to watch my words or worry about what you guys are gonna think, if that makes sense. You can't do that with everybody. You really can't. And the sooner you realize that, I think the better off you are. So you have that other set of group of friends that you have. I have a set of group of friends that I only have lunch with. We don't particularly talk about anything important. They don't know me really well. And I think that's the best benefit of having that group, because they don't really know me that well. They don't know my family. I can often talk to them about things with like less worry, if that makes sense. Like, it's like random stuff. It doesn't matter. And then I have my group of friends that we're talking about like really deep topics like positive thinking and psychology and evolution and all these wonderful topics. And I love that, because you just feel like you took a master's degree every time you hang out with those friends. They push me to grow and learn, and that's a different kind of value. And I think both of those groups are interesting groups, right? Because one pushes me and one just allows me to just be lazy and laid back and just hang out with the kids and not have a discussion sometimes, and just talk about, you know, what they bought at Walmart or what the kids are eating. You know what I mean? Like, you need both of that, but don't expect that fulfillment the same type from everybody. You're not gonna get it. It's just not gonna happen. You have to reset your expectations. Hi, Universal Journey. Passion said, I used to be upset about it, but after watching your videos, I'm like, oh well, they're missing out on something great. Yes, and not everybody is on the same journey at exactly the same time. And some people just need to, you know, this type of people that they're listening to you, they're getting it on some level, but they're just acting like you're not important or your words are not important, and then you see them a little bit later reusing what you've said and made it their own and selling it as their own work, selling it as their own ideas. And to me, that's fine, because at least they've gotten inspired, and if that's making them happy, that's okay. But the interesting aspect in all of that is that all the time that they were criticizing, they were listening. They were picking stuff up, because you see them reciting everything you've been saying, you know, word to word, but they've now made it their own, saying that it was their idea. I think some people really need to do that, and I think you have to allow them, because they're just not okay with they're not okay with it being somebody else's idea. I think that's where that charming thing comes in, where you're like, yep, that was you. Yes, Universal said, every group of people are in our lives for different reasons. I agree. And there are people that I have distanced myself with, because I do also believe in that saying that you are the sum of the 5 closest people. So if I'm in a group of people that's overly negative or draining, that I can't stand. So the group that I have that I just do lunches with, they don't talk about anything particularly interesting, but they're not negative people either. They're happy people, they're happy moms, and you can go to lunch with them and have a really good time and laugh, and you're not going to learn anything new or discuss anything important, but that's okay. Like, they're just a fun group of people. They're also not draining on you. They're never going to say anything negative about anybody. They're never going to gossip about anything, and I love that about them. Then the other group that you can have those discussions and stuff, like, those conversations are very intense. You can't do that all the time either. Sometimes you need that other group to just be like laughing and playing. And yeah, I agree. I think that they're there for different reasons. Nausea, thank you for the compliment. I just love this stuff, so I think it comes naturally to me, but thank you for the compliment. Hi, Sumaya. So guys, I think I've wrapped up the permanence thing. Let me know if you guys are watching this in the rewatch in the comments. What are your thoughts of this? I'd love to hear from you guys. Sunday, Irfan and I will do a live chat. We haven't done a finance one. Last weekend we were away, so we didn't get a chance to, but we want to do one for you guys tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Sunday. Tomorrow we're doing sushi. Sunday we're doing a live chat. So I will catch you guys then. Thank you so much for the love, guys. I really enjoyed spending this time with you guys, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye. Oopsie.